it's tough to, you want to look at the guys that played well last week, but then there's a lot of guys that didn't play well last week that are probably going to play much, much better just because the course fits them. Scottie Scheffler fresh off of the win at the Masters, and he is easily the betting favorite tonight in an elevated field the week after the Masters. So you're going to see a lot of big names this week. Does Scheffler pull it off again, or do we see somebody else step up and take over at the RBC Heritage? I am Andy from WagerTalk.com, being joined as always by my fellow golf betting expert, Nick Borman. And Nick, this tournament has definitely changed over the years. This was a know-nothing tournament after the Masters where pretty much the only big names that played it was, I remember Dustin Johnson used to play it, but that was because his sponsor sponsored the tournament. And you remember those days where it was like DJ and then like everyone else that just didn't play in the Masters, and now we have an elevated event here. So pretty interesting here. We're going to get into the course, and of course we're going to do total strokes gained, players that can trip you up. We'll give out an outright winner, finishing position, and some DraftKings darlings, and then we'll do some questions for Nick at the end here. Nick, let's just jump into the course here. Harbour Town Golf Links, par 71. It's about 7,200 yards, maybe just a little bit more. I really like this course. It's just a fun, short course. Requires incredible tee to green to have success. These are going to be some of the smallest greens that you're going to see on tour. Scrambling, going to be a big requirement. We saw that last week with Scheffler. His scrambling was one of the key ingredients to him winning. There's a couple par fives where bombers can maybe have an advantage, but it's just much more important to land the ball on the correct side of the fairway off the tee than it is to just bomb it and pray. You've got trees, you've got some rough. Weather looks to be absolutely fantastic on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Maybe a chance of rain late on Sunday, but I'm sure they're going to be able to get this tournament in. So expect beautiful weather throughout the entire thing. So accuracy off the tee and accuracy on approach shots, I just think is going to give players a really good chance to go low over 4 rounds. Nick, I think someone gets to minus 18 as the winning score with the perfect conditions. A couple of my favorite holes that I have here. I love the par 3 hole 4. It's 200 yards, and I just love it. I mean, nothing but massive water to the left, bailout to the right. I mean, you have to have 100% confidence in your approach. When that pin is short and left, you have to have absolutely 100% confidence in your swing to make this. Otherwise, you're pulling it to the left. I expect to see a lot of bailouts to the right there. So I do love this par 3. We'll go to the 8th hole, par 4, 475 yards, easily the hardest hole on this course. It's just you got to be accurate off the tee. You have to hit the right side of the fairway. You can't go too long. You cannot be left. You can't really be right and in those trees. So it's just an uber importance to get that tee shot absolutely perfect. And then you go into the green, big long bunker and water to the left, sharp runoff to the right. Very difficult hole. I was reading an article that says this is one of the more difficult holes, not just here, but actually just on tour. It plays as one of the hardest holes that they play this year. So I do like this one. And then the 15th hole, par 5, this is 585 yards. It's tough to reach in 2, but if you smoke your drive, there's going to be some guys that are going to be able to try and get there in 2. But you look at that green, you got bunkers to the left and to the right. You do have water. So this is going to really, really be interesting if guys want to try and go for it in 2. I expect a lot of the field to lay up, and then it becomes, who's got the best wedge coming in here. So probably third shots are looking at 80 to 100 yards, depending on what distance they want to give themselves. So what's your thought on Harbour Town? I really enjoy watching them play this course.
Yeah, I mean, much different than we saw last week. Augusta is big and wide and just a huge property. Harbour Town is not. It's the opposite. It's small. It's tight. There's a lot of trees along the edges, and they overhang the fairways. It's Pete Dye design, right? These guys play a lot of Pete Dye designs throughout the year. The players probably being the most famous one. And, he's a guy that challenges your mind, does a lot of risk reward type of shots. He's not a guy that any of these courses are really designed for length, which Harbour Town is not. This is not a course that distance off the tee is important or matters at all, honestly, to the winner here. You'll see a lot of shorter hitters that have won here because it's a lot of these. There's a lot of dog legs both directions, Andy, and a lot of them are kind of like you can't make the hole any shorter. It forces you to play to certain positions, so you're going to see a lot of less drivers in people's hands this week than most tournaments, and especially since from last week, it's shorter overall. It's par 71, but it's just a different type of golf course than we saw last week for sure. I mean, there's water, I think, that comes into play on every hole, if not every, but maybe one. So again, it's just another nuance that Pete Dye throws at you. The greens are 3,700 square feet on average, and that might not mean anything to anybody if you don't have anything to compare it to, but the smallest greens on tour are Pebble Beach, and they're either 3,500 or 3,600. So these are right there. Very, very small greens. You're going to miss a lot. You're going to need a tight short game for when you do miss, but the best iron players in the world are going to kind of rise to the top here. Not drivers. It doesn't matter to be a good driver, but you gotta be able to keep this thing short or long clubs, because again, some you can't get the distance off the tee. They're forcing a mid iron or a longer iron in your hand on some of these approaches. So it's definitely tricky in that regard. But yes, I agree with you, Andy. Looking at the weather, looking at past scores here, we're probably going to get up in the high teens as far as winning score goes. So it won't be quite as difficult around the greens as we saw at Augusta National. That's what gets you there. But definitely different skill set required here. And because a lot of times when you get these smaller greens, it kind of, putting is, once you're on the green, you're kind of close already. So yeah, it matters, but it might not matter as much as some of the other golf courses out there. But anyway, I'm really honing in on iron play and approach play as my main metric this week.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. There really is no comparison to the course last week and this week. I mean, you take a player like Brian Harman, before the Masters, he said, he's like, I can't, it's too long. Even Steve Elkington said it on Golf Channel. He was like, someone like Brian Harman, it's just too long for him. You can hit every fairway off the tee, but when you're that far back, you're just going to struggle. And then jump to this week, and you would say this was perfect for Brian Harman. So it's tough to you want to look at the guys that played well last week, but then there's a lot of guys that didn't play well last week that are probably going to play much, much better just because the course fits them. So should be a really good one. I enjoy this. No cut this week, so only 70 players. So you're going to get all 4 rounds out of guys. So there won't be any cut props. And if you get off to a slow start, guys are still going to be in the mix. So let's take a look at the total strokes gained for the last 12 months, 6 months, and 3 months. This chart is certainly kind of getting shaken up a bit, especially in the last 3 months there. So walk us through this. Who's notable, and who are we focusing in on this week?
Well, yeah, first of all, you mentioned the field size, so we'll start there. It is down to 69 players at this point, Andy. Everybody in the top 30 in the world that's eligible, so non-live guys, are in the field except for Hovland and Hideki. So obviously loaded field. Scottie leading the way. You got to think if there's ever an event, he might trip up. It might be this one as coming off that Masters win, but a bad week for him probably still means, finishing 6th. So keep that in mind. 54 of the 69 players that are in the field played last week at Augusta. Each of the last 3 winners of this event played the week prior at Augusta. So just throwing it out there if there's any correlation there. And only the last 2 winners, Fitzpatrick and Jordan Spieth, are previous winners of this event. So most likely we'll have a first-time winner here. And for the golf enthusiasts like us, Andy, because it's a small limited field, there is another event this week. Corrales Punta Cana Championship for the golf degenerates like we like to be. So that's my quick notes on the field in general. When looking at the strokes gained, this is your who's who of who's in this event, right? It's the top 10 players over the previous 12 months in total strokes gained. Obviously, we know who's going to be at the top of the list there, whether you look at a short term. I mean, look how good he is short on the long term, first of all. He's over 3 strokes. Only 2 other guys are even over 2. And then he gets better. Like to see that over 3, you would expect to see a little bit of a fall off. I mean, it's hard to sustain for a long time. It gets better in the shorter period of time. And if it wasn't for Steven Yeager, this guy would have 4 straight PGA Tour wins. So I understand anybody that just wants to bet on him and put all your eggs in that basket. It's kind of, you can't compare him to Tiger Woods anywhere yet, but in the betting markets you can, because this is kind of what we saw back from Tiger back in his day, his odds at numbers like this, and it's basically it's Scottie versus the field. And now you're starting to see on week-to-week basis where they have to throw out markets where it's without Scottie, to bet other ways. And honestly, a lot of the times I would rather do that because you can't bet Scottie to win outright. It's just not worth it. And then it's hard to bet anybody else because you're like, well, Scottie's probably going to win. But this week I do think he could have a slip up after obviously that Masters win. But again, here's your list. You can see the official Golf World rankings on the screen. They're all top 20 players. They're all, again, the who's who's. I'm sure Aberg will get a lot of attention coming off his solo second there at the Masters. He beat everybody else in the field by 3, yet still lost to Scottie. Incredible talent that guy is. Morikawa, resurgence, he's on the list there. Homa, obviously, near winner on the list as well. The only guy really that wasn't talked about much on this list last week, because all of these guys actually played pretty well. Right? The only one that didn't, the furthest one back is Rory. Everybody else there on the top 10 played very well. The bottom notable section, I threw in here for guys, they didn't necessarily have a good week last week, but they've been playing well in a longer period of time. Wyndham Clark is a name that people will definitely be looking at this week after a miscut last week, and he's been playing great in the short term. A couple runner-ups to Scottie recently, obviously. So this is your list. This is where you're going to get a lot of the attention for the outrights, I think, this week. And if you look at the bottom half of this list, that's kind of the sweet spot I think you want to be in this week, around the 30-1 range. You might maybe down at a 25-1, but I bet somewhere between 30 to 40, even 50-1. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of guys that could win this tournament in that range. So for me, it's just hard to want to bet Scottie. Or now I bet Xander last week at 16. At 11, I'm like, I'm not so sure. So it's hard up there, but this is pretty much the list you'd expect to see, and everybody that's playing very well. Be weary of Patrick Cantlay. You can see his trend on this chart, Andy, but my gosh, does he have great course history here. So it's his head scratcher. It's what do? Do you trust the form he's in, or do you go back and look at, man, this guy finishes top 5 every single time he tees it up here? It's hard to say for sure. So just be wary of it. Keep that in your mind. His current form doesn't match what his course history suggests he should do here. But that's your strokes gained for this week, Andy.
Love it. Go ahead and hit the like button, guys, and leave a comment. By far the best week of comments we've ever had in Tea Time in the Masters last week. So I know this is not going to get nearly. This is not nearly going to get the amount of views or the amount of comments. But leave a comment below. We had a ton of fun going head to head against some people. Shout out to Rudy. Who stepped up and did a little head-to-head. Someone else I just gave him the challenge, try and pick the top live guy. So let's keep it going. If you guys want to go do a little fun little head-to-head with me, just throw something out in the comments. We'll get something fun going, and it's just turned into a great comment section on the YouTube channel. So I'm really, really happy with it. So hit the like button, leave us a comment. And speaking of Patrick Cantlay, what a great segue into players that can trip you up, Nick.
I didn't even know that.
It's just a perfect segue. I'll tell you what you can do with Patrick Cantlay. Okay. So the elephant in the room with this segment is obviously Scottie Scheffler. Complete letdown spot after the Masters. Expecting the birth of his first kid, and by all accounts, this is going to be an absolutely epic fade the baby theory. But the baby isn't here. Yeah. So, Nick, he did not make players that can trip you up. I still think he's worth playing this week. He's plus money to finish in the top 5. Why not go out and try and get one more win before the birth of your first kid? So he didn't make it here. I am going to bring up Rory McIlroy. I don't know if people are going to be playing him this week. This segment, I always try and pick golfers that I think people are going to be playing this week. And, the warning is he's going to trip you up. I wanted to bring him up, Nick, because I can't think of a worse type of course for his game. I mean, the best part of his game is the power off the tee, and it's one of the least important factors at this course. His approach and his putting numbers are outside the top 30 in this field. His around the green stats are well below average. He's only played this tournament one time. He finished 41st. It's just a bad fit for him. He can't overpower this course, and he has one finish better than 19th on the PGA Tour this year. So I'm not sure if he's going to be a popular pick, but he is a big-time fade for me this week. I believe I've seen some books with like minus 145 on Schauffele over Rory. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I'm taking guys like Scheffler and Rory. I'll lay the juice 100% over Rory McIlroy this week. Patrick Cantlay. So, as you brought it up, Nick, an incredible course history. He's finished top 7 in 5 out of the 6 times he's played here. His current form is so bad. He is not the same player. He's not been accurate off the tee. His approaches have been especially terrible. He's minus 0.28 strokes gained approach the last 3 months. Around the green, he's been awful. His putting is average. So when I'm looking at him, just going, he might like playing here, but his game this year has been so bad, and we have a big sample size, enough for me to say, listen, we're in April here. It's just not happening for him. I don't know what the deal is with him, if he's got an injury, if he's not motivated, or what the deal is. But Patrick Cantlay, I think a lot of people are going to put him in their lineups and bet on him this week because of his course history, and I can't get there. I think he's an absolute fade this week. So Patrick Cantlay, second player to trip you up. And third, I'm going with Max Homa. He played great last week at a course that he normally does not play well at. That was his best finish at a major, by far his best finish at Augusta. But he was clearly gearing up for that week. He did not play well at the previous tournaments. I just think this is a really good letdown spot for him. He only has 2 top 10 finishes this season. And the last time he finished top 10 this season, he finished 64th the next week. He played here last year, missed the cut. And here's another little sneaky one. Nick, did you hear his interview about not drinking for a long, long time?
Yeah.
And saying that, yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not saying he's going to still be hungover by Thursday, but when you don't drink for a long, long time, you don't wake up the next morning and be fine. I will guarantee he didn't do anything productive on Monday. I'll guarantee that. So he put out on social media, he planned this birthday party for his wife. So that was cool. But for me, it just says the Masters was really what he was planning for. That was his mental high point, at least in this first part of the season. So it worked. He was 1 hole away from really pushing Scheffler for the win. Third place finish. He's obviously celebrating. I think this is a big time letdown spot. And everyone is I think a lot of people are going to be playing on Max Homa because of the third place finish last week. He was featured on TV most of Sunday. So he's got a lot of airtime, and I think he gets off to a slow start. My sneaky question to you, Nick, was, okay, hasn't drank for a long, long time. Clearly, he drank on Sunday because he posted pictures of it. So he's hungover on Monday. Now he gets back to it Tuesday. What do you think about fading him in round 1 on Thursday? Whoever's against, he's going to be in a group with a couple big names. So you're going to get a good round 1 matchup. Just fading Max Homa the week after the Masters. What do you think?
It's not a bad play. I mean, obviously we have to see who he's paired against, and I don't know if it matters if it goes in the morning or afternoon, but you're right. He's probably a little groggy, and probably golf is all about rhythm and routine, right? That's why they, every shot, every week, every month, it's just like continuing that grind and that routine, and you get out of it. These guys have I'm sure, a pretty strict, pretty, consistent routine as far as just week to week goes, how their week looks like when they're getting ready for a tournament. And he's probably off that. So will that mess with him just enough? I think you're onto something there, Andy.
We'll see. I may post in the comments section once they come out with the tee times and the matchups, and we'll see how he does with the guys in his group. But that could be an interesting one. Nick, you're going to go over an outright winner for us. Tell us what you have up at WagerTalk.com, where we can find you at, and who you're looking at to possibly take the title this week.
Sure, yeah. This week's golf pack is up on my page at WagerTalk.com. Outrights and leaderboard bets all included in there, and you can grab that available right now as soon as you're watching this video. This week's guy that I'm looking at to be a possible outright winner, I don't have to tell you to bet Scottie Scheffler. I don't have to tell you to bet, Rory McIlroy, even though you suggested not to. I don't have to tell you to bet those guys. So I'm going a little further down the list, try to find that guy that I think is in that range of sweet spots this week is 30-1, 40-1. We've seen a lot of winners here at this tournament in that range. Shane Lowry, 45-1. He's got great course history here. He's got 3 top 10s in 6 starts. I may be a little biased on this. I was on Shane Lowry here 2 years ago. He had the lead, the back 9 Sunday. I forget what hole it was. He put it in a bunker. chips out into the water, loses the tournament by 1. I mean, that was as close to, that's Lowry's time as ever before. But he does. That's not, that wasn't an anomaly. He's been very good here over the years, and he likes this place. And he kind of his skill set really fits here. It's a second shot golf course, as we mentioned when we were talking about the course itself. He's been great on approach, ranking 6th in this field, strokes gained approach over the last 6 months, 3rd over the last 3 months. So really dialed in right now with his irons. Generally, he's a very creative player around the greens. His short game's pretty solid. So that'll come into play, I'm sure, with these smaller greens, as people do miss. And, in general, his form has been pretty good. I know last week, call it a little bit of a letdown, tied for 43rd at the Masters, but listen, I mean, there was a lot of people that struggled clearly last week. Very difficult course, but red hot during the Florida swing, tied for 4th at the Cognizant, 3rd at Arnold Palmer, and then 19th at the Players. He just fits, I think, what a guy looks like that's going to win this week. He's not necessarily a guy that bombs down the fairway, but he's very, very, very accurate off the tee. I think he can hit his spots in the fairways that are very important. It's like I said here about the second shot. It's the first shot. What matters here is your placement for that second shot. A lot of times it's not just hitting the fairway. It's left side of the fairway, right side of the fairway. So I think Lowry is going to be very good at being able to hit those spots because his accuracy off the tee is so good. So I think Lowry will be up there near the top of the leaderboard come the end of the week. And outright plays, that's all you're really hoping for. But good form, good course history, near winner here before. I think he can get close this weekend.
Love it. Yeah, always love me some Shane Lowry. Let's take a look at some DraftKings darlings. So I will tell you this week, I'm attacking it a little bit different because we know we're going to get 4 rounds from everybody. So,
True.
Normally we're just trying to, we're trying to get guys that make the cut. But this week, we don't really need to worry about that. So what I did, Nick, was, and I'll just go over my 3 DraftKings darlings, and then I'll go over my lineup. But it's available on the free digital download on WagerTalk profile page, Andy Lang. Just click on the free download. You'll get a PDF of it. So I'll start with Nick Taylor. He's 6,600. He missed the cut last week, but it's the Masters. That's his only missed cut of the season. He finished 41st here last year. I don't understand why he's priced so low, but I'll take it. Guy that finished 41st, and he's one miscut this season, and it was at the Masters. Of course, it doesn't really compare to this week. So Nick Taylor at 6,600, absolutely a great person to start your lineup with. Up next, Lucas Glover, 6,800. I really don't understand this price. Lucas Glover's last 3 finishes are 20th, 25th, and 11th. And his stats seem to fit this course really well. He's not long off the tee, but he is accurate. His strokes gained approach are 12th in this field. His putting has been terrible, but those aren't the numbers that matter. 6,800 on Lucas Glover. This is a steal in a no-cut tournament. So Nick Taylor, Lucas Glover, I'll start my lineup with. And then I'll move on to Akshay Bhatia, 7,700. This is the exact same thing as Lucas Glover. Bhatia's stats fit perfect. He's not long off the tee, but he's super accurate. His approach numbers are great. He did not start off the year good. There was a lot of missed cuts, but he has turned it around. He finished 35th at the Masters, and before that, 1st, 11th, and 17th. So he is in great form. He missed the cut here last year, but I'm just going to depend on his current form. So Bhatia could be a guy that gives you incredible value at 7,700. So the next 2 guys that I put on my DraftKings lineup, Nick, are Christian Bezuidenhout at 7,600 and Brian Harman. We mentioned him before at 7,800. And that gives me enough room to put Scottie Scheffler in there. When you look at the DraftKings DFS lineups, the bonuses for wins and the bonuses for low rounds and the bonuses for 3 birdies in a row, I just feel like you have to nail one of the top guys. So you're looking at either Rory or Schauffele or Scheffler. And to me, it's got to be Scottie Scheffler. So I don't have to worry about any other person in my lineup missing the cut. So if I get decent finishes out of like 2 of those guys and I get Scheffler to finish in the top 3, I think I got a really good chance to cash. So, but Taylor, Glover, and Bhatia, those are my 3 DraftKings darlings. Let's take a look at a top 20 finishing position. You found another gem at plus money. Who do you like this week?
real quick on Bhatia, when you're betting outrights, as I do, you're picking like 3, 4, or 5 guys, depending on the pricing, right? And then there's always those 1 or 2 next guys, right? Bhatia was that 2 weeks ago. And when you're in that situation and you have that guy that you didn't bet, but you were staring at him and you were really into it and you're like so close. Golf's so fickle, you're cheering against him, right? I'm cheering, no, do not win this tournament. Do not win it.
Yes.
It's the fear of missing out. So congrats to you, Bhatia, but I'm not really happy with you. Hopefully I'll catch you later, though, and all will be forgiven. Moving on, top 20 play this week, Andy. I've played the Postman a few times earlier in the season. He's kind of cooled a little bit over the last 6 weeks, but I'm back on him this week. He basically just doesn't like to play in Florida, right? That was where he struggled. He had terrible finishes in the 3 Florida events. And last week, he came back with a tie for 30 at Augusta, which I think is a pretty solid result, considering, again, you look at some of those big names and where they finished or didn't make the cut at all. Top 30 is very, very respectable. So I think that was actually a pretty good week for him. Though he's played here 5 times, though he does have 2 missed cuts in those 5 starts. He's also got 3 top 8s. So it's, the definition of feast or famine for Poston here at Harbour Town. But back to his long-term form is what really, has me licking my chops here. Anybody can, over a short term, whether it's 4 weeks, 6 weeks, can have a little bit of a ebb and flow. And then all of a sudden these guys, boom, can just catch fire or go cold really quickly. It's bizarre. But when you have a longer term sample size, generally that's going to be a better gauge. And you go back to the John Deere Classic last summer, Andy, that started to run at 12 top 25 finishes and 15 starts for Poston, including 8 top 10s. It really just felt like the win was coming. It didn't, but man, it was close. But he was cashing top 20 tickets left and right. He's not a long hitter, so definitely one of those tracks where he can contend. He's also an incredible putter. He ranks 5th in the field in strokes gained putting, over the last 12 months. Nobody's ever going to be better than Denny McCarthy, and you saw that with that 28. I tried to kind of chase down Bhatia a couple weeks ago, but Poston very, very solid with the flat stick. And I like him to splash on that first or second page of the leaderboard by Sunday. Place he loves the greens. He's gained strokes on the greens here at Harbour Town. Even the years he's missed the cuts, he's gained strokes on the green in all 5 starts. So he just loves these greens. He can putt them very well, and his iron play is solid enough where I think he'll have plenty of good looks. So I like Poston to be somewhere in that first or second page, plus 180 to get a top 20. I think is a really, really good price.
Love it, guys. Go ahead and hit the like button. Leave us a comment if you want to go head-to-head on anything this week. Let me know in the comment section. I've got my golf pack up for RBC Heritage. I really like betting on this tournament now. With this new format and some of the matchups and the props that are given out, there's a couple that really jumped off the page. So I've got plays up for that one, having a pretty good golf year. It wasn't a great week at the Masters. Lost the big 5% play, but really came back strong with the individual round scores, which I had a lot of success with. I didn't lose any of those. Tiger to shoot over 72.5 in round 4 was the gift of all gifts. And then I was able to get Scheffler under par on Saturday and Sunday. Those were really nice as well. I got to ask you about Scottie Scheffler. He's still even or plus money to finish top 5 this week. Do you think Scheffler is going to be just fine after he has his baby? Listen, I've used it just a million times over the years.
Mm-hmm.
He has said things like golf is going to be my 4th priority in life. And we've just seen over the years, Nick, these guys don't stay on top for very long. Do you think Scheffler is going to be this dominant for the long run, or do you see changes coming with him?
I don't see changes coming. There may very well be a short-term blip. And by short-term, maybe a month, maybe 2, as, he settles into fatherhood and the ebbs and flows of your daily routine and life and sleep and all that stuff really kind of affect you. But he'll figure it out. During his some of his post-round interviews, about the Masters and just what he was saying about how important winning is to him, tells me that this is not a guy that's just okay with being mediocre. He's gonna work. He's working harder than anybody else out there. The results are clearly showing, and I think he's going to continue that. I just don't see that drive going away. I know, having your firstborn is a huge deal, but again, short term, maybe you avoid him for a couple. Maybe, as you like to do, the post baby first tournament fade. I probably won't have the strength to do that myself because he's very difficult to fade right now. But I can understand not playing him for a couple of weeks while you try to figure that out. But long term, I think he's going to be right there at the top for a long, long time.
Next question for you. So Ludvig Aberg was eating a snack. He was walking from one hole to the other. He fist bumped guys, and he dropped a snack, and he smiled. And the announcers were like, "Oh, don't you love this guy? Oh, what a great attitude." My question to you, Nick: what was he supposed to do? Turn around and slap the patron? I could not believe they were giving him credit for that.
They expect him to pull a Zach Johnson. Well, if the viewers don't know what that means.
That was next on my.
You told him,
that was going to be next on my list. So, has anyone had worse PR on the PGA Tour than Zach Johnson over the? This guy went from the humble, just ho hum, golly gee, gave one of the best post major interviews I've ever seen when he won the Open, and now. Who likes this guy now? What is going on with Zach Johnson?
You can't tell the fans to expletive off. You just can't do it. You can't do it.
On camera with a live mic?
They turn on you real quick, man. They just can't do it. One thing you got to do is feed into them. Feed into the fans. They'll love you forever, right?
Yeah.
There's a part of fans that'll like a villain, but you can't be villainous to the fans. You can be villainous to other players, but not to the fans. Thanks, Zach.
Yep.
Good run.
Very, very, very strange. I did not have that on my bingo card. Was Zach Johnson being one of the biggest villains on the PGA Tour?
No.
Did not have that. Finally, Liv had 3 guys in the top 9 at the Masters, but none of them were Rahm, Koepka, DJ, or Neiman. So, successful Liv major or complete disaster? Because I have complete disaster for them.
I do too. I think it's a realization of, the top of that leaderboard was all PGA Tour players, and it's a realization. Listen, it's one event, right? We'll see what happens over the next few events, but it's what I've said for a while now on this show of the worry of falling away and being forgotten about. And if you start having these results in majors, that is going to happen quicker than they expected. And again, I don't know how much of the other formatting, shotgun starts, 54 holes. It's golf, right? But it's still different. And just having that, sitting around all day, especially if the guy was in contention, right? You're sitting around all day long. Think about DeChambeau going into Saturday and Sunday. What's he used to right now for the last, 2 years? Everybody starts at the same time. Everybody's getting ready at the same time. It's starting a little bit earlier in the day. You're sitting on a lead. You're going through whatever you have to go through to keep your mind, from thinking about it, whether that's working out in the morning. Obviously, you're getting to the course early. You're putting. You're hitting balls. You're getting loose. You're just keeping your mind off what's coming up. It's different. It's just different. And I'm not going to say that was a sole reason, but I think it definitely had played a factor into his performance over the weekend. Because Thursday, what did we see? Didn't have to think about anything. Went out and played golf, and no worries. Obviously, it was an easier scoring day, but it's different. And I think that's the biggest challenge these players. When you see the best champions in history, they usually fail before they figure it out because you need that experience. You need that consistency of being there, right? Not everybody's going to win every single time, but if you're there, you're going to have those chances. And if you're not there, you forget what it's like to be there. And then that changes how it plays out. So I don't know. I'm very skeptical about the LIV guys and their actual ability to win. Maybe not have good weeks. That'll happen. But their actual ability to win in those type of settings. I mean, Koepka had his chance last year at the Masters too, faded away. I know he won the PGA, so maybe a bad example, but we'll see how it goes into the future majors and see how their weekends are. I think anybody can have a couple good first rounds, but the weekends will be interesting to see.
Well, listen, I'll go over. I think there's pretty interesting things that you can point out about the guys in the top 10. So Bryson DeChambeau, I mean, he's one guy that is always working on his game. He's always tweaking his body. My God, he tweaked his clubs. He built new clubs.
Clubs.
So it's like, okay, he seems to always be motivated to working on his game. So okay, never stuck in a rut. That makes sense. Cam Smith, we saw the writing on the wall with Cam Smith. He just withdrew from the LIV tournament. the week before. That should have been automatic green flag that he was dialed in. And then Hatton, well, he just joined the Live Tour. Like, he just went over there. Like, so he hasn't been over there for, for a couple years. Neiman, he was awful on Sunday after all his bravado and blustering. And then, I just, DJ's done. He's even openly said, I don't work hard anymore. Koepka and Rahm, they just look, as Marco says, fat and sassy. Just, they got their money. They have no edge. They think they have to know they're just kind of becoming more and more obscure with each and every, week that they're not on PGA Tour. So I'm so out on those guys. If you're Live and you want to, if you want to like get people prepped for solid like finishes at majors, I just don't think it's going to be coming from Rahm and Koepka and DJ and Neiman. I just don't see it. I don't see the edge. I don't see the focus. Even against, some of the middle tier PGA tours, like who looked like, seriously, who looked more motivated. Look at the motivation of Max Homa and Rahm and Koepka and DJ. Like, not even close. Wasn't even close on those.
Just remember, Andy, this tournament will always have an asterisk on it because Taylor Gooch did not.
No, Gooch. Yeah. Poor Scheffler. Is obviously going to be runner up this year.
Oh God.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us for the RBC Heritage at Harbour Town. Don't forget to hit the like button, leave us a comment, tell us who you like this week. If you want to go head to head with me, just let me know in the comment section. All the Nick's plays can be found at WagerTalk.com. His pack is up for this week. So is mine. Coming off of a really fun Masters week, but make no mistake, this is a very, very bettable, gettable, elevated event with a lot of big names. So no reason why we can't be profiting off this tournament. Good luck in all your plays, and we will see everyone next week on Tee Time.